one of the most controversial or most talked about Christian topics, things of that nature, is judgment. Now, often we're hearing Christians say, you're not called to judge, you can't judge. And then on the other side, we're hearing Christians say that we're called to judge others and we should hold others accountable. And so I kind of wanted to address both sides today. I did a huge deep dive study in this. I am a PhD student in theology and psychology, so I have had quite a bit of experience studying stuff like this and interpretation with Greek and Hebrew languages. So I really wanted to take some time to dive into that today and really talk about judgment and what everything means. Okay, so I have some notes pulled up. That's why I'm looking off to the side. Don't think I'm just don't know how to look at you guys. So we're going to look at John 7:24 and then Matthew 7:3-5. So these are the most often quoted verses for this topic. So John 7:24 says, do not judge by appearances, but judge with righteous judgment. And then Matthew 7:3-5 says, why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, let me take this speck out of your eye, when all the time there is a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite. First take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. I think these are NIV, NLT, I can't remember, but it's not like King James, if that's helpful. So those are the verses we're going to look at. First, I want to explain John 7:24. So in John 7:24, and I have done a blog on this, so I'm kind of reading through notes. So John 7:24, Jesus is addressing the people who are judging him for healing on the Sabbath. And he is telling these people not to judge by appearances, but to judge with righteous judgment. It wasn't an approval to go around just like judging and critiquing others. It was more calling out superficial legalistic judgment, urging people to look deeper and discern with truth, wisdom, and grace. So basically saying Jesus was healing. If you don't know what the Sabbath is a day of rest. And so religious leaders, they were not allowed to go out and preach and speak and heal and things of that nature, or pray over people. They weren't doing that because they were taking the Sabbath to rest. And Jesus knew he needed to heal this person on the Sabbath. And so he was healing because that's Jesus. He's going to do that. And he's basically calling these people out, these legalistic people who are saying, well, the Mosaic law says this, so you can't do that. And he was just saying, hey, let's not judge in that sense. Let's discern, right? Am I really doing something that's worth you calling me out for right now? Am I doing something against God? Or am I doing something that maybe you just simply don't like? And then in Matthew 7:3-5, Jesus is warning against hypocritical judgment, which is a very, very powerful reminder in itself that we often project our own issues onto other people. So instead of calling someone out of their own sin, we should probably humble ourselves first and say, hey, I'm actually struggling with that same sin, but I see it a little different. Something I thought of when I was looking through this topic is the adulterous woman in John 8:1-11. So this story is about a woman who was brought before Jesus, and they were demanding that she be punished according to the law of Moses. She was caught in adultery. But instead of condemning her and punishing her just as the law of Moses would have he should have done according to the law of Moses, he walks up to the accusers and he's like, let him who is without sin among you be the first to throw a stone. And one by one, everybody walked away because everybody had a sin. Nobody could throw a stone. And instead of the one person who could have thrown a stone, because he was sinless, sin-free, he did not sin, he didn't throw a stone. All he says is, I don't condemn you. Now live your life without sin. He didn't excuse her sin. He didn't say, oh, it's fine, you can do that. He just said, I'm not going to shame you. I know your heart. I know that you feel bad. And so go and just live your life free of sin, because I know who you are on the inside. As I said, in today's culture, a lot of people, especially online in your TikTok comments And in your Instagram comments, in your direct messages, they're critiquing what you wear. They're critiquing where you go, what you post, how Christian your life looks. And if it doesn't look enough Christian, then they're gonna judge that. And sometimes it comes out of a good place in our want to defend the truth and defend God. But sometimes we forget how. And we forget that maybe we shouldn't be casting so many stones. We might have the good intentions when we're trying to cast the stones, but we end up casting the stones and harming instead of loving. And righteous judgment isn't nitpicking. It's not about looking at strangers on the internet and going, I don't think you're living your life correctly. It's more about loving correction rooted in like relationships. So before you hold someone accountable or attempt judgment, do you know that person's heart? That's a legitimate, do you know that person? If you don't know that person, you probably shouldn't be saying anything. Are they someone you're in a close relationship with? Could you call them up and say, hey, like, I'm noticing some things you're doing and I'm a little concerned, because I have friends that I can do that with and they have done that with me. And that's the opinions that matter. The opinions are people are like, hey, like, I think something's a little off. Like, let's talk about it. And then the last thing is, am I confronting them from a place of love rather than pride or frustration? Are you coming at them with a place of like, I want to help you? Or are you just being downright mean? There is a difference between speaking truth in love and acting like someone's Holy Spirit. And I hate to tell you guys, but you're simply not someone's Holy Spirit. You are not the Holy Spirit. Jesus is the only one that can truly see someone's heart. And he judges righteously because he is sinless. And we try to take on that role, especially without grace and humility that God showed. We take on that role when we see a Christian influencer and we think they're not living their lives correctly, and so we go and correct them. And I know it comes from a good place of wanting them to only be the best versions of themselves, but in the process we end up hurting that person and probably the people that are reading your comment. Instead, follow Jesus' example. When someone close to us is walking away from the truth, then we should probably speak up. Somebody close, as in a friend. As in, if you know this person and you are close with this person, then you should speak up and say, hey, I love you so much, and that's why I want to say I'm noticing these things and I want to check in and do a heart check. But when you're seeing an influencer or a stranger or a celebrity just living in a way that you don't agree with, instead of condemning from a distance, that means getting in their TikTok comments saying, you shouldn't be doing that. How about just pray for them? How about we trust that God is going to put the right people in those people's lives to speak truth in his timing? How about instead of us trying to act like someone's Holy Spirit, we just love them. We simply, I hate to see them go down that road, but I'm just going to pray for them. I'm going to add them to my prayer book tonight. Why not just pray? So, the looming question, should we judge? Yes and no. Yes, we should judge, but we should only do it righteously, humbly, and relationally, right? We should only do it with love and grace and kindness. And we should only hold someone accountable or judge somebody if we truly know that person, if we know their heart, if we're friends with them, and we see them stumble. We should stop throwing stones from afar in someone's comment section, in their DMs. We should stop doing that. Even if it comes from a place of love and a good heart and you had good intentions, it's not worth it. Just pray over that person. Your comment, truthfully, is not going to change them. It's not going to change the way they act, and it probably is going to push them further away from God, even though you fully intended to bring them to him. So if you're going to hold someone accountable, let it be with the ones closest to you. Let it be relationally. That's how real accountability happens. And that's how life changes. When a friend comes to me and says, hey girl, I'm seeing you're doing X, Y, and Z. That's not normal for you. How's your heart? Are you getting into the word? Are you talking to God? That's whenever I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to get my Bible. I should not be acting like this. And that's when true happiness and accountability happens. And that's how I change. And that's how everyone else changes too. So the next time you try to leave a hateful comment out of righteous judgment, make sure you know that person first before you're saying things like that. If you don't, just simply pray over them. And that's okay. And if they're leading others in a way that is not Christ-like, I understand you want to go at them and defend. But Jesus doesn't need your defense. He's good. Like, it is going to be okay. And he will not allow those hearts to be guided by somebody who is not fully living his truth. And that I know for a fact.